Welcome everyone to Comms First. This is an interactive session with Polly. So this is the best time to kit your officers and employees with Polly is now. So I'll hand over to the Polly team to start the session. Thank you very much, team, and over to you.
Hello all. We'll give it a couple of minutes, but I think our intro is going to take that time, and for sure we'll have more participants by then. Excellent. So what you see on your screens is alliance managers across the globe for Poly. They are well versed with Microsoft Teams solutions and are very well aligned with Microsoft partners, and the the customers that are adopting Microsoft Teams. An excellent forum for you all to ask any questions if you have. This presentation is going to be in two parts. The first part, we're going to speak about industry trends. And again, because we've got people from across the globe, you'll get to hear the perspective from Australia, from Germany, from the Middle East, from France and EMEA, for example. And so that will be the first part. The second part is more going to be about the offers that we have. What are your options to migrate to Teams if you're a Real Connect customers, which is our CVI solution, or what your options are if you had some of our legacy products. Having said that, let's begin with our first question to Christoph. Christoph, could you quickly introduce yourself?
Good morning, Murtuza. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Christoph Herrerias. I lead the alliance with Microsoft for EMEA, so the go-to-market engagement we have between Poly and Microsoft.
Excellent. Christoph, since you're managing EMEA and you've been in a Microsoft role or a Microsoft Alliance role for a long time, could you give us a perspective about what changes happened recently and what are customers doing in terms of going back to offices, or a general perspective of what's happening in the work from home / remote working environment?
What happened recently, obviously, is COVID-19 pandemic. Just to give you some background about the trends on remote work and now back to the office. So previous to COVID-19, only less than 5% of employees used to work remotely. When I say less than 5%, across EMEA, we speak about 4.6%, with some disparities, because if you look how that was split, it's mainly the knowledge workers, management teams, etc. Some had this capability, but yet it was still quite limited. Because of COVID-19, the trend was really that there was no other alternative than whether working from home or not working at all, unless you were a first line worker. So at the peak of the pandemic, at the peak of the lockdown and at home being sheltered at home, this amount or this percentage of remote workers grew to 25-30%, depending on the regions. Across EMEA, it was around 27%. Okay, so the interesting thing of that is now that we are after this peak of pandemic and people start returning to work, there are some good insights where basically we ran a survey recently, and 74% of managers say that basically remote working will continue and will increase. Actually, I just received yesterday a new survey where basically 85% of managers say remote working will continue to intensify. And the good news as well is that most of the people who had to try remote working for the first time during COVID-19 were a little bit in urgency. They didn't really have the intention, they didn't have planned to work from home. So they were not in the base situation to do that. They were not equipped. They didn't have the right management tools, etc. to do that. Yet, over 75% of them claim this has absolutely not degraded their productivity, or in opposite, actually, it has increased their productivity. 79% of them are ready to continue working remotely. Maybe not all the time, but at least 1 or 2 days a week. So there is a very strong trend where management agrees that remote working is working well, where employees say it's working well and want to continue. So at the end of the day, what we see is that the trend that we got during COVID-19 will remain after the pandemic and will remain as people go back to work. They will continue to work from home a few days a week. Okay. So, and where do I think that Poly is a thought leader in this area is because already 8 years ago at Poly, we implemented what we call smarter working. So smarter working is way more than just remote working. Smarter working is a concept where basically we give the freedom to employees to work anywhere at any time, provided they are in the best situation to manage their task and to do their work. Okay, so this smarter working concept relies on 3 pillars, what we call the bricks, bytes, and behaviors. Bricks is obvious, is basically having the right setup, having the right environment to work. Bytes is definitely the technology that is available to you to realize your work. So basically, being able to have access remotely to all the enterprise business tools, to have the right collaborative platforms, etc. And behaviors is critical. Behaviors is really how you manage your people, how you organize your work, how you report, etc. So that basically you are no longer measured on being at work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but you're really measured by objectives and you're really coached on attaining your objectives. And we have this experience, we have the tools, we have the collaboration approach, and we have the expertise in how to manage that as well, because we practice it for many years, but we also have professional services who can help you adopt these right behaviors and this migrate to these new working styles.
Excellent, Chris. Let's now turn to James Ware, Alliance Manager in APAC, who's joined us from Australia, where he just finished his dinner, he told me some time ago. And a question to him is, James, don't smile. You got the tough questions because you are not a part of EMEA. So anyways, the question is, you told me earlier that there was a lot of adoption of Real Connect for Teams in your region, and you also mentioned that there are different dynamics in your region in terms of, because it's so varied, so vast, like you got everything covering, like places like China, India, you've got Australia, which is again a very different sort of continent in terms of its work culture. So what kind of trends do you see there, and where do you see work going after pandemic?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for the intro. Good morning, good evening, everyone. And yeah, I just thought I'd share some of the things that we're currently seeing in APAC. And as you mentioned, it's a very varied region. And so a service like Real Connect comes in really useful for organizations that are transitioning to Teams. But as we're seeing at the moment, many organizations in Australia are adopting Teams very quickly. And I think around the world, we're one of the highest adopters of Teams as a platform. And then there are other regions that are maybe on that journey. And so what we're finding is with Real Connect, which is our interop service, we're able to provide customers with that instant access to Teams. So they can sign up to Teams today, they can start running meetings, but fundamentally they're still able to utilize some of their now legacy video systems, and they've got a period of time which is quite flexible, to adopt Teams, and then at some point in time switch out those meeting devices. There's many Poly devices. They might be moving from Cisco as well, and then they're moving across to Teams. And as you mentioned, we globally had the free promotion. So all Poly customers who are running various standard-based endpoints were entitled to a Real Connect service for free. That came to an end on the 30th of June. And so in the past month or so, we've all globally been extremely busy signing up customers both to the subscription-based service of Real Connect, but equally just like presentation after presentation around explaining to them some of the options with Poly around native devices as well. Yeah, certainly the trend that we've seen over here is we've gone from the hour meeting with half an hour either side or an hour either side to commute to back-to-back 30-minute sessions with customers, talking them through a lot of the kind of new native devices and things like that, the video and personal group devices and things like that. So yeah, I mean, incredibly interesting times. I thought we were all starting to transition back to the office, which is where the Real Connect service came in. And then many of you may have seen on some of the global news networks that places like Melbourne have kind of gone back and are experiencing another wave of COVID as well. So yeah, you just never know how long that Real Connect service will be used as organizations are transitioning.
Perfect. Turning to George. George, I'm sure George is joining us from the Middle East. He's our alliance manager and distribution manager in Dubai. So they have had very different dynamics in terms of the VoIP itself. In certain countries, there was like a VoIP ban for some time, so they could not use Skype for business, even other things like WhatsApp calling or WhatsApp video, for example. So with that in mind, and seeing how Teams is progressing so well in the Middle East, what do you think is happening? Could you give us some perspective from there?
Thanks, Muthuza. Very good morning to you all. Hi, just to introduce, I've been in Dubai and been working very closely with Microsoft for the last 13 years. And just to give you a background of the scenario here, if you look at before COVID, the entire region was not open for VoIP. When I say open for VoIP, they are primarily on-prem solutions. So when customers used to work on the desk phones, and primarily we could see only majorly the global accounts, they use their maybe teams to interact within the organization. Now, post-COVID, the entire scenario is completely changed. It's just, I think I can say maybe from 10 to 100, that everyone moved into these soft applications, and Teams has really been adopted. So I think what Microsoft could achieve maybe next 2 years, they have achieved in this COVID scenario. Now that scenario is so good here that because it's a new trend, it's a complete culture change. You need to understand people were not very comfortable wearing headsets, and they were very comfortable taking the desk phones. And there is a sea change of approach. And this region is very culturally very strong. They love to go out. They spend time in the malls. They love to go to offices and all that. But this entire scenario completely changed. Today, if you look at almost, though we have opened up the offices, I would say, as Christoph mentioned, close to about 70 to 80% of people are still working from homes. And this trend is going to continue. And what we could see that some of the trends being spoken out by the industry leaders out here is that, yes, there will be a major decrease in the office work model, and there will be a big spike. And this spike, what is there in the work from home, is going to continue. And there should be a trend which will come on a remote work model. That is, there will be options where customers go and work from anywhere. And there is a concept of, should we have offices, or can we look at shared locations, shared the space in offices? These trends, which were well known in the global setting, will be seen in the regional setting. Okay, and with this in mind, the biggest challenge will be how do we cater to the endpoints? How do we ensure that the experience and the productivity is maintained? So that's where Poly come into being. So we are very strong in the connectivity. As you all know, we are looking at how do I connect? Okay, there is a desk phone, there is a soft phone out here, and a mobile phone out here. How do I connect all this to one single endpoint? How do we control this? That will be the next wave which is going to happen in this region, and looking forward for that. And I think that the team is full equipped, the partners are very equipped, and we are very much aligned with the Microsoft local regional team out here, and looking forward for a great start again.
Oh, very, very strong point there, George, especially when it comes to inclusion, right? So I've worked in the region very closely, and I know that there are different personas. So we speak about personas when we speak about a very personal thing like a headset. So someone with a headgear, for example, right? So how comfortable are they in using these headsets? Do they want something over the head? Or do they prefer something that is in ear, for example? So I think that's another amazing thing about Poly, and I'm sure you are shouting at the top of your voice over there and telling people how inclusive we are in terms of our range. I also know, because I'm not from the Plantronics side, but coming from Polycom into the Plantronics culture, when I went to the Hooftop office, I saw 250 ears on the wall.
Yes.
And I was surprised, and I was told that we are in the business of ears. So that is the amount of detail that we go into. That's the amount of personalization that we want, which is an amazing, knowing the ethos of the company. I'm really proud of that, and proud of being a part of this kind of an inclusive workplace, both internally and externally. Going to Kai, our most lively person in our strategic alliances team based out of the DACH region in Germany. He makes every conversation very interesting. Let's ask him a little bit about. You started with your laugh here. Let's ask him a little bit about the work from home culture in Germany. Germany was one of the first countries that sort of shut its borders, took the preventive measures in terms of COVID preparedness. And I think you all are one among the countries that have. You are among the countries that sort of found early success with COVID prevention. But also there's another element to it. When people started working from home, they must have come in with different kind of devices in the environment. And I know at one point you were struggling to find stock, because we would give you all the stock and you would just continue to sell them and deplete all our stock. So tell us a little bit more about what's the trend there and the devices, Kai.
Matuza, give us all the headsets we need. Yeah, we need so many devices in Germany or in the DACH region. It's unbelievable. So thank you for the introduction. So it's a little bit similar to James and George and Christoph, the story in Germany or in the DACH region, because I think it's we all are affected from this COVID-19 stuff. So, but in Germany, in 2012, we opened our smarter working office in Cologne, and so we are since 8 years in this modern workplace areas. And I think some years ago we started to find out what's happened with the people, how they want to work in the future, how they need to work in the future, how we can bring the best potential people to the companies and make the really nice company to work for them. And in 2012, the smarter working story works very well for us all. And now it's happened. The customer who moved in the last 8 years to the modern workplace stuff, especially on it was Cisco or was it Skype for Business or the other vendors, they was well prepared. So that means they stop working in their office, go to home and start working there. So the process was defined, the regularity was there, everything was fine. They have their rules and they have the tools, and that was really helpful. But it was more than a lot of lighthouse projects and bigger companies like Bosch or like this who do that very well. But if you go more down to the mid-market and governments and education, you see it was a chaotic situation, and it is still a chaotic situation, because people now use shadow IT. They buy everything they could get, low-cost headset, also gaming headsets. So any webcam, or they use a webcam from the PC, and they try to bring all this stuff to work that the company can still alive. And because you have to know, in Germany, we have a lot of hidden champions, and these hidden champions are bigger companies, like 10 to 20,000 people globally. And these hidden champions are very often based countryside, and countryside means they have a bad landline, and they have so many issues with technology, so the most things are on-prem. And now they find out they have to use it not on-prem, because they have to reduce bandwidth and all the other stuff. They have to use more cloud solutions, because they can do this job as on-prem company. And now they're coming a little bit slow. They're coming slow back to the office, and they think about how can we work in a hybrid mode. So how can we create a flexible office and a professional home office, and try to fix all the chaotic situations, especially on GDPR stuff. There's a huge of discussions actually in Germany, and on the other side, on the shadow IT, bring this all together. And we are here with our professional solutions. You can use in your home office, and you can use also in the smarter working office or modern workplace office, with Teams, with other vendors. And I think we are really well prepared with our portfolio to support all working styles and all personas. So if you need a professional solution for Teams, I think we are the right one, which you can use.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kai. And just a note to the presenters, we are running perfectly on time. So that brings us to our second part, where I'll ask a very different sort of questions to our panelists. And these questions are more going to be around our offers, what sort of steps our customers can take and get the right devices or get the right kit into their offices or to their employees. James, you mentioned that the Real Connect promo that we had expired on June 30th, 2020, right? So and you also mentioned you had a lot of customers who were on that promo. So if customers want to have the experience or want to try out Real Connect going forward, what options do they have? That's number one. And two, if they want to buy or purchase licenses, what are their options? Could you tell us a little bit about that, James?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is congratulations to everyone in the Poly team and all of our partner community as well. Because as you can imagine, on the 30th of June globally, when that free promotion came to an end, and we had thousands, if not tens of thousands of customers running on the promotion, and whilst we all tried to inform those customers that it was coming to an end, there were still lots and lots of people who were coming into their meetings at 9 a.m. and finding that the service wasn't working because the promotion had came to an end. So I know that our partners for the last few weeks and people in Poly have been working very hard with our clients to either keep them running or get them on the new service. And so thankfully we've had some really good offers. Number one is the standard subscription, and so that standard subscription, the pricing has been reduced dramatically from what it was last year when we launched the solution, and it's extremely cost effective now. That can be purchased as an annual subscription or 3 years, and what we've also announced is a really short-term subscription as well. So we can actually subscribe from a shorter period as 1 month, and so we're looking at some enterprises who are coming back to the office very quickly, and they don't need to invest in a service for a year. They literally just need a couple of months whilst they go in and refresh the room. So that monthly subscription option is working very well. What we also have as well is for new customers. for those that haven't moving to Teams but haven't experienced the service before. We do actually have a 60-day free trial, and that's really easy to sign up. We just request a few details, and we loop in the partner community and equally sales engineer or the account team from the Poly side. We've set people up over here in a matter of hours, where we've taken their domain, their details for their Microsoft Teams tenant, set them up, and they're running Cisco endpoints into Teams meetings within a matter of hours. So those kind of experiences then turn very quickly into a paid subscription. And as I said, that subscription is flexible and really depends on our customers' journey to Teams and how long that's going to take. They want to refit out all of their rooms in a couple of weeks. We do a 1-month service. If they want to take a bit longer, then maybe 6 months to 12 months. But I think that flexibility for clients in those offers and the subscription-based service has been really well received in APAC.
Excellent. Thanks, James. Kai, can you tell us a little bit about Visual Plus TradeUp? A lot of our customers have been Visual Plus customers, especially in the EMEA region. What options do our customers have? And recently, we also announced our new MTR. Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit about what Visual Plus is. So as I told you, we had a lot of hidden champions, and they used video in the past, but it's on very often on-prem with Skype for Business solution. And the Visual Plus is part of the Skype for Business collaboration kit. That means you have a trio like this device. So a lot of people have it in their conferencing rooms, and you have a black box. This is the Visual Plus. This is a content sharing system, and you have a camera system in your room, and then you can have on Skype for Business your video solution with content sharing and the trio. And this with Teams, Microsoft decided to have a better user experience over all devices. So that means they design the firmware and all the other stuff, and roll it out to the Teams certified hardware. And they decided to pull back a little bit to our trio because they have a too small display for their user experience target, and they decided to make from the collaboration kit from the trio an audio-only solution. So we know that's a big gap for our customers who have existing hardware, and we want to help them. We offered the Visual Plus trade-in promotion. That means you can send us the serial number of the content sharing box, and can get a cheaper price for your Studio X series. The Studio X series is a native Teams devices. They got the hardware from, they got the firmware from Microsoft. You can use it with a touch controller. You can use it with a touch screen, yeah, and you can use it also with your trio. That means your trio will get another firmware from a touch controller device, and then you can use the trio as extended version for the as touch controller and as extended microphone and speakerphone for your Studio X. So that means you can give us the Visual Plus. You don't need the camera to send in. You can use the camera to give it somewhere else in the company who can use it, and then you have a cheaper price for your video collaboration bar as a native solution for Teams. If your room is too small, we had launched in the past weeks our new MTR, Microsoft Teams Room Systems. It's a Lenovo PC in the middle and video collaboration hardware from us around them. So, but you get it out of the box from Poly. That means you have one box with the tiny in, with the USB cable, with the camera system, with the new Trio C60 as one bundle for bigger rooms, and this is similar to the collaboration bar, but with more features for bigger rooms. So you have two ways to trade in or to go forward with your Skype for Business devices to Teams in the video rooms area, trade in the Visual Plus for collaboration bar, which looks like this and is really small. You can put it on your screen. Yeah, it's really easy to install. I think it takes 2 minutes or less to install it.
And then you know where all the stock is going. It's in your cupboards over there.
Yeah. That's really true. Yeah, I have a lot of more here because Microsoft requested also a lot of them because they needed for their customer to test it. And it's really the one and only device. It's all in one. You have content sharing and you have everything, and it's really nice product, really smart for smarter working office, you know. And with the Visual Plus promo, we support them to go easy this way with less investment.
Super. Thanks, Kai. Chris, a lot of our customers also had the VVX phones with Skype for Business. Poly was the largest sort of supplier of Skype for Business phones in the market. So what options do our customers have moving to the CCX or the new native Teams phones?
Indeed, we have the largest install base of Skype for Business phones in the market today. So the first thing I want to say is, if customers are migrating to Teams, they are still able to use the VVX phones with Teams through the Microsoft Audio Gateway, and this will remain at least for another year or 2 years. Just have a look at the tech blog on Microsoft. This will remain. Now, the point is definitely, if customers migrate to Teams, as Kai mentioned, they want also to have a rich and consistent user experience. So the Teams user interface that you find on your mobile app, that you find on your laptops, that you can find on your Teams rooms, etc., you can also find it on the phone side. But for this, you need to have a native Teams phone. So earlier, end of last year, we brought to the market a complete range of CCX phones, which are Teams native desk phones with all the capability, all the UI of Teams. Okay, and they are also backward compatible with Skype for Business. So even in the transition period, you can also use them. So you can really phase your migration to Teams. They can run on Skype for the time being, then they can be on Teams. So what we offer to our customers who are running VVX, or actually who are running competitive phones as well, so other brands that I'm not going to mention today, but you can imagine which ones, we also offer them a trade-in or a trade-up solution, where basically we have 3 CCX models. So we have the 400 which is the entry or the common area phone. We have the 500, which is really for the office, the knowledge worker, and we have the CCX 600, which is for the VIPs or the managers. And for each of them, if you apply the trade-in or trade-up promo, basically you will get some additional rebate. So the only thing we need from you is basically the legacy phones that you have in place, okay, with the serial numbers, and we will then apply $25 to $60 additional discount on the phone that you want to trade in. Okay, so just in short, $25 discount on the 400, 40 on the 500, and 60 on the 600. And last thing I wanted to say is on all these phones, of course, you may want to benefit of service, so additional maintenance, additional support, etc. So we also complement this trade-in program with additional discount on the services as well. So 20 to 30% discount on the service. So it's really the right time to plan for the voice migration as well. And I know that Microsoft is putting a lot of emphasis on calling this year, so it's time to migrate your phone system as well.
Christoph, let me show you one product. This is also a CCX phone, but without a handset. So you can use of the phone features you want to have with a headset. So that's for me personally, that's the nicest combination I have. You don't need a PC. Your Teams client is running on the CCX phones. You have a headset connected on it. You have your mailbox, your calendar. You have your speaker phone on it. It's a perfect combination. This is what I love from the Plantronics side, legacy Plantronics side. Then I could think that I will love a phone. Yeah.
Agreed.
Exactly. Can you point the camera, Kai, to the truck that's standing outside your house as well? So,
so I'm well prepared for the next pandemic.
Of course you are. So while
hey,
I was just
we've
talking
had
on
a
my
question come in. If can you see that? Do you want to take a look at that?
Yeah, sure. Let's answer that question because that sounds really interesting. You want to take that question, James?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to give my view. So great question, Martin. And for those of you that haven't seen it in the chat, Martin is asking around changes that we've seen in the use of devices and things like that due to different working styles. So I think one of the things that everyone has learned is to charge their headset up overnight and or in the morning. Certainly we do have devices that mainly some of the office-based ones and that will have hot swappable batteries and things like that. But I suspect the use of tethered USB devices has been extensive. One of the things that I've definitely noticed is there was that rush to buy headsets as everyone was working from home, or in many cases, people didn't have a choice. They were kind of just grabbing any device that they could. And what we've seen over the last few months is the focus on the quality of device. So people have been experimenting. They've been using maybe their less kind of enterprise grade devices and are now gradually migrating towards some of the higher end devices just to make sure that quality of experience. And that's both with the video devices and also headsets, handsets, and things like that. In terms of meeting room solutions, so Kai just demonstrated there the Studio X30. We are seeing quite a lot of requests for that as a personal device, mainly because of the size and flexibility that you can literally just mount it on the top of a monitor, and you've got a really good native Teams device. So I think that's maybe something that we weren't seeing before, but now those that are setting up these kind of professional home offices, as you're kind of seeing with many of my colleagues, right, that we've all spent a bit of time checking out the right devices and setting up these professional spaces where we can conduct meetings and things like that. So that's some of the changes that I'm seeing. Maybe the final one as well is that transition that some people are starting to go back to the office and they've been using these devices. So they've had these kind of personal devices that they've been having this really great audio and video experience. So they're now kind of figuring out how they're going to use those when they go back to the office. So that kind of focus on maybe the headset that I'm using, the Voyager Focus UC, or some of our wired devices, the Blackwire, they've started using them at home. They're now taking them into the office and plugging them into their PCs and things in the office. So that's another thing that I think we're seeing as well. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in on that question. I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. Chris, Guy.
Perfect.
So the question was, with the change in ways of working due to COVID, have Poly seen any different requirements from users for headsets and devices that were not thought about before? For example, room systems being used at home, more noisy environments at home, etc. My house is noisy. Battery life requirements due to more online meetings, I think, which James covered. Any other perspective from EMEA, from the French team or the
Definitely, the request for professional enterprise headsets being used at home in combination with also professional webcams like the Eagle Eye Mini, Eagle Eye Cube, or even Studio, because people there are a lot of people who really run webinars, sessions online from home, and are really presenters, producers, etc. So they really need these high-end cameras. So we saw a very strong increase in the Poly Studio X being also used as home office devices, home office meeting room equipment. The other thing is people go back to the office and do not want to touch things for sanity reasons. So the beauty now with also the Teams rooms and the collaboration bars for Teams, we have this proximity join feature, which is absolutely fantastic because you no longer need to go into the meeting room and touch the device. You can just click from your smartphone or from your PC and join and get into the meeting room, and your meeting just starts in the meeting room. So voila, these kind of things that people didn't really think about in the past suddenly become really compelling. And I think, well, what you mentioned, the proximity join feature is absolutely fantastic and is very well demanded and loved by our users right now. So that's a very strong feedback that we get.
Oh, excellent point there, Chris, about the proximity join. We'll go quickly now around the room asking a question to George about headset and any offers on headset, because I think that's the hot topic now.
So some of the things, as I said, a background to this in the earlier question. Actually, one thing I want to highlight is the personas. So that is very unique for Poly, and it's very deep for my heart. Actually, if you look at personas, it's something a study. It's a segmented study on it is done on a qualitative and a quantitative basis. Poly has done the study, and we have segmented a pattern of users in enterprise. So if you look at the study, says that 91% of users fall in different segments. So and they have a user pattern. Okay, so at the current scenario, if you look at, if you take a concept of that people are using multiple devices, 84% of people are using multiple devices at the same time. It can be 3 devices or 4 devices at the same time. Now, the challenge here is how do I connect all? So we are there, and we cannot say in the past when there is a deployment happening, they will say, okay, why don't we take one headset, give it to all? That's not going to work. It does actually need to be segmented. There will be a work from home concept. There can be a user who needs active noise cancelling. There is a user who will say, I don't want a sensor, or there can be different requirements which is coming in. So what we do is actually we segment based on user pattern, and there are about close to about 7 different patterns of users. And it's deeply studied, and this same study can be done by organizations in their respective organization, and they can actually segment the users, and based on that, they can position different solutions. So that will address actually the challenges you're talking about, the new things which come up. For example, everything which is already come in today are well thought of by Poly. For example, the work from home concept, the challenges which face around it. So all these are deeply ingrained in the development of the product, and it's been applied, and we can see the success on that. So if you look at from a headsets, we are right now I think the largest number of headsets which is certified for Teams, and it's on a click of a button. You can just actually have many features which are ingrained with Teams, and user experience is going to be really great.
Excellent. Thanks, George. James and I are also connected in the virtual world in AltSpace with CommsFirst, and thanks to CommsFirst for showing us to AltSpace. I think it's an amazing app. It's a great virtual environment to be in. And while our avatars were discussing about Poly and how Poly can make best use of the virtual reality, I asked James a question about in the current situation where people are not going to offices, and a lot of our business depends on our customers being able to see and demo our products. So how are we doing these demos? Is there a way customers can see our products virtually?
Yeah, it's been really interesting over the last few months around demonstrations, and yeah, I love the virtual booth. I've been doing a few blogs on LinkedIn with myself and Matuza on doing selfies on the virtual booth. So I do recommend, if you've got a few hours or even 10 minutes today, just to go and have a look at that. It's really something. But yeah, so I think what we've learned from the working from home is really what people are looking for in a demo is actually to see the far end experience. And previously, and I'm sure we'll get back to it at some point, where we've invited customers into our briefing centers, and they're very smart environments, and we're putting people in front of in a meeting room, and we're saying, oh, have a look at the screen and have a look at the experience. But what people weren't getting from those briefing centers was actually the far end experience. And so what we've realized now, and we can do it so well virtually, is that people can join from anywhere on different devices and different systems, but they're actually then seeing the real experience, what other people are seeing when they're joining a Teams collaboration session. And so the virtual demo, in my opinion, and the feedback that we've had from customers, is actually more effective than, I think, in many ways, than the in-person demo. And so that's been really good. Equally, I mean, like this call now, we're pulling people in from all over the world, so you can get experts and the right people. Doesn't matter where you are, you can pull them in. And then that said, we do have, we've pretty much converted all of our what were in-person briefing centers now into virtual briefing centers. So and our partners are doing that as well. So it's really easy to set up a half an hour or a 60-minute session with one of the virtual briefing centers around the world, US time, EMEA time zones, and also in Asia as well. And they can do a really good demo of the different headsets, handsets, all of the different devices and things like that. But yeah, certainly there is more of an opportunity now, I think, to demonstrate the collaboration devices that we have than ever before. So for anyone out there, don't feel that just because you can't come and see us in person, there's actually more opportunity for us to demonstrate the devices and things than ever before.
Yep. So there's another question that says, can we get a list of those 7 classifications of end user profiles? Yes, Maxwell, you can. Just ping me an IM and I can share that with you. Now we are at the end of my asking questions, but since this is a team meetings, we can open the mic for every other participant on this call. And if someone has a live question, we can take them. Just to tell you, the tradition is we usually put Kai on the spot first, and if he can't answer, then someone else takes it.
That's not true. That's not true. But we have missed one question from Martin. Martin asked us, how can we manage speakerphones and headsets in one way? When people are in the office, have a lot of meetings, yeah, they don't want to wear a headset all the time. They have a short speakerphone or a small speakerphone also in place, a personal speakerphone. How can they manage these 2 devices on an easy way and can switch from a speakerphone to a headset and back? It's completely easy. You can use with standard hardware from our side and our free software with the Hub software. You can find it in the download section on our website. You can install it, and this software will manage your switching seamless. So you need to push, if you have a call on your headset, you need to push on the speakerphone button at the answer button, and your call is on your speakerphone. If you want to have it on your headset again, put your headset on your head, push the answer button, and you will have the call on the headset again. And you can switch so often you want, and how you can manage it. Martin, okay, we understand it. I know. Write an email to Matuza; he will help you.
That's it. Yeah. So if there's someone hosting the panel, there's someone hosting the panel, put all the questions to the host. The guy does that all the time. Anyways, you have to live with some of your colleagues, don't you?
Yeah, I spent your sample budget. That's fine for me.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? I think there's another that came up. How are you finding availability of Poly hardware at the moment around the world? Even in the US, we've had to wait 6 weeks for a C60, for example. Can we purchase anything directly from Poly?
Nope.
So the answer is no, you cannot purchase directly from Poly. We're a 100% indirect channel-driven company. Now, the question of the supply, I would say right now there has been a huge peak in demand for headsets, especially headsets and webcams. This is going back to normal now. So we have the chance that we own our plant in Mexico, and we have secondary plants also in China and other regions. So, voilà, with the different supply origins, we're able to cover that, and we're returning back to normal on the headset supply as we speak. Now the C60 that you mentioned is a brand new product, so I believe that you had to wait a few weeks because it was just the launch of the product, and they were on the go. So usually we have stock. That's also the beauty of having distributors across the world. Is usually we plan based on forecast. They take stock for at least 30 days. It happens that at some point we are in difficult position, but usually we're able to supply through, and we have a buffer stock with our disties.
Yeah, and we have to say that 286 million of office workers are moving into the home office globally, and that's a huge number. And all suppliers worldwide together don't have all the hardware available in this short time frame. So we are all working really strong to deliver all the requests worldwide, but it's a huge number, and it's really fighting against the requests, yeah, because
against the clock.
Against the clock, yeah, absolutely. It's hard. It's an unusual time, Mark, but we will do the best, yeah, and we try to deliver the stuff as fast as we can, but it's absolutely not an easy time for a supplier, and especially for the people in the factory place.
Yeah, it's maybe worth adding as well, and Mark, I'm not sure what industry you're in, but certainly globally, we had an escalation path as well for emergency situations. So anyone, frontline workers and things like that who were involved with the COVID pandemic and things like that, there was an internal escalation path. So I don't know what industry you're in and things, but there were options there where we were trying to make sure that certain people were covered if it was an emergency situation. The other thing to add, and it's not with the C60, but certainly on the headset side, is we have hundreds of different models. And just to give you an example, we had some in APAC in one of our facilities, we had something like 45,000 of a particular headset that was in a bag versus in a box. And it actually had a different SKU. So everyone was trying to get hold of the headset that was in the box, but they didn't realize that we had stock of another one that was in a bag. And so it was things like that, just considering maybe talking to your partner or talking to Poly about some of the options, because maybe you're, for example, people were looking for a headset with a USB A connection and didn't realize that we did the USB to A to C adapter, things like that. So there were quite a few options where there was some flexibility available.
Got it.
Bless you.
Thank you.
It's the noise cancelling in action there.
Yes, didn't notice that. Well spotted, Jim.
I know the rules. I was on mute.
Excellent. So we are almost coming to the end of our presentation. If there are, I'll give it a moment's pause to see if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we'll do a quick wrap up.
There's one here from Maxwell. It's a good one. What is the best approach to encourage users to consider headsets over the classic desk phone? The first thing I'd say, which is maybe a bit controversial, it actually doesn't matter from a Poly perspective. Like we provide a range of devices, and it suits the different personas of individuals. Some people like to use a handset, some people like a headset, some people use speakerphones, some people use a combination of all. Our goal is to make sure that whatever device people are using is that they get the best experience and they're comfortable with that device, and we give them choice. Yeah, that would be my comment on that one.
Yeah, the other thing I can mention on this is we have 20 minutes free consultancy service to discuss what are the options as we move into this smarter working, modern workplace, and the work from home trend. So we have 20 minutes consultancy services delivered by our professional services on this topic, and they can cover the different aspects. The first thing, obviously, is as we move to smarter working with the collaborative platforms, etc., the desk phone will remain in some cases. But the reality is the trend is the phones are not declining in terms of how many phones are in the market. So it's not declining, but the usage rate of the phone is drastically declining. It has already declined over 40% over the past 3 years. So people still buy phones, but the usage of phones has decreased by 40% over the past 3 years. So keep that in mind. So headsets are being used more and more. Speakerphones are being used more and more. So what's the point in investing in desk phones and have less usage of it? So think about this as a first element in terms of return on investment. The other point is people used to buy phones in the past attached to PBX, to calling system, proprietary calling systems, and they used to last 10 years or even more. Now, the reality is in a cloud environment, the phones will last if you stick to Teams for the next 3 years, and Teams keeps on evolving. At some point, maybe in 4 years, 5 years, you will have to replace your phones because you have new capabilities, it's more powerful, etc. So the lifetime of a phone is decreasing over time as well. So voilà, there are a few things you need to consider. So investing in headsets is probably the best thing to do right now, but keep the phones as they are if they are needed for some people or for some profiles, personas. And I think you can wrap up, Murtuza.
Yeah, great, Chris. And while Chris was doing his last bit, I put up a slide that had our contact details. So if you want to get in touch for any sort of consultancy related queries or any offers, any promotions, just ping us an email. So you've got almost the entire team except one lady, Natalie Kaviani, who just joined us recently in her new role at Poly. So get in touch. And the one thing to remember about Poly is actually 3 things. One is that we are end-to-end. So whether you speak about headsets, you speak about personal conferencing cameras, you speak about group conferencing, you speak about anything, including a 3-screen, 21-seat immersive studio, we can do that, and no other vendor can claim to do that, and we don't stop there. The other thing that we do is we have a layer of software, which is things like Real Connect service, things like management software, what we call as Poly Lens. We've got software, and not only that, we've also got services. So services and software makes it more comprehensive. So it's not just a product, but a solution that we provide you. And to top it all, like you see on the screens, we've got our offices, we've got our staff globally like you have. So I'm sure you've got offices across, and that is why you need video conferencing. That's why you need devices and solutions like Poly. So we are there with you every step of the way in every location that you want us to be present. So get in touch, and hope you have a wonderful last day of CommsVerse. Thank you very much for joining.